Let's leave the controversy there. We will try to remember to revisit it, Jeff. Let's move to some baseball. You're going to be hearing prospects' names all over the place in the next month and a half as we get to the trade deadline. Our man Tom Housenick knows these guys better than just about anybody around there. Tom, how you doing, man?
Not too bad, guys. How are you guys doing? How's the summer going?
Hot.
Jeff thinks it's hot. He's melting.
Yes.
It is hot out and it's getting hotter apparently. So
I made the mistake of going to the Yankees Orioles game before I even sat down. It was 100 degrees and it was a 5-0. So
But he got to see Cole Irvin pitch.
that's right. I did. I got to see
cold.
Cole Irvin. Didn't have his best game of the season, that's for sure.
But he's been pretty good.
He has.
He's one I still I'm a little bitter about.
Oh, so is Jeff. He was one of our favorite interviews. We talked to him when he was talking about making fishing rods in his hotel room while they were on the road.
You can ask him two questions, that's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And the topic could be anything. He was so well versed and had so many interests. He is a very unique individual.
Well, I think this is a good lead into one of the things that I'm concerned about. And Jason, you can go with what you're concerned about with the Phillies is Taijuan Walker. Look, if the worst thing that you have is you need an outfielder and you need a fifth pitcher, I guess that's not so bad considering what's happened to the rest of the league. But Taijuan Walker does not seem to me like a solution to get through the season. I'm not worried about the playoffs because you're not going to go with five starters. But is there something that the Phillies can do other than Spencer Turnbull, who I don't think is going to be able to hold up for a whole season starting? That they can do? Is there anything in the minors? Is there anything you're hearing as to what the Phillies do with regard to the situation?
Well, as you guys I'm sure aware of, there is not a whole lot of pitching prospects in the higher levels of the minor leagues. That's certainly not an option. Right now, the AAA's best pitcher is a guy by the name of Michael Mercado, who they've been slowly stretching out as a starter, and he finally pitched 6 innings in his last start. It's also the first time he ever gave up 3 earned runs in a start. All came in 1 inning against AAA's best hitting team, Norfolk, which
Every pitcher on that AAA roster, except for Lazar, Lehman, and Mercado, have an ERA over 5.
and it's been well earned. There are a lot of, I mean, to be truthful, there's a lot of good hitting prospects in AAA. They're just most of them are not with the Iron Pigs. So they have faced some really good hitters, but again, you've got David Buchanan, who's 34 and spent the last 7 years over in Asia. You've got Colby Allard, who has been in and out, former major leaguer, who again has probably seen better days. Andrew Painter's not pitching. Mick Abel is struggling mightily.
Can we stay on Mick Abel for a sec? He is one of the guys that was one of the corner pieces when you're talking about pitchers that are there. It was Painter and Abel. What has happened to Mick Abel? He's got a 1-7 record with a 6.93 ERA over 11 starts at AAA.
He has always had an issue running into an inning in which he can't get out of, and that has not changed. He just loses feel for whatever pitch or two that happened to be working that night and just can't find his way out of crooked number. A lot of times that we've seen in the past, especially when it's been a big start, whether it's the season opener or whatever, he can't get out of the first inning. And he's done all right there, but he just has had issues with this. He just hasn't had command of all his pitches at any one time. He said it. He said, I have not been comfortable with my 3 pitches in one game yet this year. And here we are, about to turn the page to July. So he's not going to be an option anytime soon. And I've been afraid that he may never be an option, which also leads to the number 3 guy, Griff McGarry. He's currently on the injured list with a back issue, and they've pushed him to the bullpen for the second time, and that's probably where he's going to stay if he's going to have any chance of helping the Phillies or anybody else. Again, his issues, same thing, big mistakes, they multiply real quick, and you can't get back a 3-run homer or a 4-run inning, and that's been the issue for both of those guys. And again, confidence is another thing. Once things start to go south, then you can just kind of see the body mechanics change, the slump of the shoulders or shaking of the head. And again, they're two good guys, but they're not real confident guys either. And right now, they haven't given themselves a whole lot to be confident about.
Well, my concern when I hear words like uncomfortable, body language, is that this is a mental thing more than it is a physical thing. That they have the physical tools to be successful. Is this just them and their makeup, or is this we don't have the right people around them to get them in the right frame of mind? Do they need somebody like a sports psychologist? Do they need a different mentality for a pitching coach to get them over the hump?
I think they are both working with, psychologists, sports psychologists. And again, they're both kind of the same person. You know, if you had a sister, you would want these guys, you want to date these guys. They're both really nice guys. Um, but it's clear when you watch them pitch that when something isn't right or isn't going right or doesn't go right, they have a hard time bouncing back. Mick Abel's stuff is good enough to play not only at AAA but in the majors. There's no question he has the stuff. He just can't put those three pitches together. And again, you don't need three pitches every inning of every game. He just when one pitch goes, he has one pitch working, and when that goes, that's when things kind of go off the rails, and he's unable to get it back. And it's really a shame because he's got the stuff. He's not Andrew Painter. I think it's clear of those three guys, and for the first time I saw the three of them a couple of years ago, Andrew Painter is clearly the best pitcher of those three, and he also has a different makeup. He's one of those guys that said, he's a Philadelphia kind of attitude, like here you go, hit it, and I don't think you can. And if you happen to hit it, he's on to the next pitch before the ball even lands. He just has a different mindset about him, and I think we'll see that when he gets back next year. But for now, I think it's a real struggle to watch Abel pitch, and
Well,
you feel bad for him.
well, if that's the case, then as we get closer to the deadline, and the Phillies do need either a fifth starting pitcher or an outfielder, do Griff, McGarry, and Mick Abel still have the cachet to get you anything significant, or is their value you're going to sell as low as you possibly can on them? And do the Phillies or the Phillies want to do something like that?
I think they're really stuck, especially when somebody looks at now. Now we're not talking about a handful of starts with Abel. We're talking about a significant body of work now where he struggled at the higher levels. So you're not going to get any kind of return that you feel you need to put you over the edge. If you're the Phillies, they're going to have to package something more than that. And you hate to see them dig into their top prospects who are now sitting in AAA or Single A to give them away just to get a fifth starter. I really think that would be a no-no in my book. I would not want to see an Aiden Miller or Justin Crawford moved just to get a fifth starter. But what they have to offer in AAA with guys who are still prospects is not going to bring them that.
Before we get to the guys at the younger levels, I did want to go with AAA for one sec. Roman Quinn sent back down. Obviously, he was the only one that had any options. So I don't know whether they wanted him down, but they wanted.
Whoa! You mean Johan Rojas?
Johan Rojas.
We love Roman Quinn, but that there's a flashback.
Oh my goodness!
You were about to break news, including to Roman.
How embarrassing that I did that. Johan Rojas sent back down. You should have seen Tom's face there. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Johan Rojas sent back down. He was the only one that had options in terms of some flexibility, but they clearly want him to work on some things. He had a great game last night. The thing that was most significant to me was he threw down a bunt. Like, if that's all that man does in the minors is practice catching the ball and bunting, I'm cool. But what are the Phillies looking for him? Because I figure when they expand rosters, he'll end up back up with the big team.
I don't think he's here for long. I really think that they know they have something there. It's just he needed some time to kind of work on a few areas, and believe me, they're putting him through. Listen, he's in the military right now. He is busy from 2 o'clock on. They've got him working on things defensively. They've got him working in the cage. Again, he still loves that. And a lot of right-handed hitters love that high pitch. He still swung at a whole bunch of those in the first 3 games with the Iron Pigs. And of course, they're working on the bunting situation. I mean, that's every day. He's probably going through 10 minutes of bunting every day, which you don't realize how long 10 minutes is until you have to bunt. They're creating every possible situation that they could possibly think of to get, to put him in that he would either need to bunt or want to bunt, and to get him to learn so much of it is learning situations. You know, he tried to bunt the first game he was down here, and it was the completely wrong situation. It was a 2-0 count, 2 outs, nobody on, and they were down by, or they were winning by multiple runs. It was just a situation where there was no way he should have even tried to bunt. And he did, and he bunted it right back to the pitcher. And you brought up Roman Quinn. Roman Quinn went through a similar thing, fastest guy in the world, and at the time, he couldn't bunt. Like all you had to do was put on the ground and not at somebody, and you were on first base. And it's a similar situation with Rojas. And his bunt last night was very good, and they had no chance. No matter who was playing third base, they were never going to throw him out. So again, I think with him, it's there. There's still some things for him to learn defensively. His speed, it makes up for a lot of mistakes, in route taking, etc. But he's really close to being the center field I think they want him to be, and now it's just a matter of repetition without the pressure. And I don't think it's going to be until expanded rosters he's back up there. I think he's up there I think he's up there soon. And then the Phillies are already trying to figure out what they're going to do to make room for him, but he's close. Again, if his pitch selection gets better, that will be a tremendous step for him. I haven't seen much of that yet, although last night, like I said, he had 4 hits and a walk, and one of those hits with a bunt. The other one was a opposite field home run to win the game in the 8th inning. But he's close. It's just, I think this little boot camp here, whether it's 2 weeks or a month, is really gonna work for him. He's working. He's not pouting. He's not, he's doing interviews even. He's doing everything right now. And they're not having to drag him out to the field, 5 hours for a first pitch to work on any of this stuff. He's doing it willingly, and I think it's a good step and a good sign. There have been guys who have been sent down here in the recent past, and that hasn't been the case. So I think it's a great thing that he's willing and the tools are there. So I think it's
I think that you are the MVP of the show, Tom, for having turned Jason's faux pas into using Roman Quinn to make your point. That was so well done that we went from an oops to actually using it as the example.
I appreciate you.
What you need to do.
He's come up in conversation in recent weeks twice. Once seriously with Rojas and bunting, and the other one was when we've got a guy down here, Matt Kroon, who's got a chance to be a major league 4th outfielder. He's a real hard-nosed kid who only knows how to play one speed. And now his body's starting to break down because he only plays one speed, which again reminds us of Roman Quinn, who couldn't go to the bathroom without getting hurt, and finding these unique ways to get injured on a baseball field. So he did come up twice in the last couple of weeks for a lot of reasons that we wish we still had Roman Quinn around, because he was so fast and so talented.
In looking at the Phillies, do you think that the Phillies, let's assume that JT comes back and he's healthy when he comes back, and then we don't need some sort of catcher, because I don't think we can go with the catchers that we have right now. Is Nick Castellanos the thing that needs to be resolved?
I don't think so. The Phillies are in a situation where their lineup, and they can survive having Johan Rojas hit 240 and Nick Castellanos doing what he's doing, where he's streaky and most times it's going well. But they've got enough guy lineup that they don't need to have the perfect fit at all those 8 field positions, and don't need to worry a whole heck of a lot about the starter. They don't need to worry about finding maybe another bullpen piece, which would bring in a guy like Max Lazar, who has certainly earned a shot at some major league roster, or maybe he's a trade piece because he's pitched so darn well. I think they're fine. I that's the thing. I don't want to see them overreact and get rid of a prospect or someone who may become a prospect like Max Lazar. Just kind of let it play out as it does. I mean, you're in a position, other than starting pitching, you're in a position where you've got enough pieces to be better than everybody else in the National League, in my opinion.
Let's talk about the guys at the lower level who are really moving up. Aiden Miller, teenage infielder, already up for Jersey Shore. George Klassen sent up with him, the pitcher. And then you mentioned Crawford, who, I mean, he had a 5-game hitting streak before he went hitless on Wednesday. He's hitting 296 and he's looking to be promoted to Reading. talk about those guys, because if I'm a team that's trying to make a move, those are the guys I'm asking for.
See, that's kind of my point. They don't have, even if we go into next season and we look at 2025, they're not going to have a prospect starting the year at AAA, a high prospect, other than, depending on what happens with Andrew Painter. But they're not going to have somebody sitting in AAA who just needs 100, 200 at bats or 5 or 10 starts to get that call up, or if somebody gets hurt, that they're ready. So I would hate to see them. They've really worked hard here in the last couple of years to build up a nice handful of really good prospects. And again, they're all young. Even if you go beyond those two you mentioned, I mean, Starlin Cobb is only 18 years old. Brian Rincon, 20. You go on down the list of their top prospects. They have a 17-year-old in the top 10. I mean, it's just, you work so hard to collect them. You don't want to just start trading them off to get a veteran piece for 3 months or a year. You don't. They're in a position. I know they need to win now, but they're not in a position where they need to sell their souls with some of these young guys that they've worked so hard to draft and already start to cultivate into looking really promising for the future. So I think they have to be really cautious here. Dave Dombrowski's been down this road before, so it's not like this is new to him. But they'd have to be really cautious with who they're going to be offering up or exposing for a potential rental here at this point, where I think they're, again, clearly the best team in the National League. I know there's Dodgers fans all over the East and West Coast, but the Phillies are the best team. And again, they're also the healthiest, and otherwise we'd be talking about a different situation involving the Braves. But I think they have to be careful, and I don't want to see them give up any of the names we've mentioned so far. I think these guys have a real chance to be really good. It's been a while for me where I could say that about a position player with the Phillies in the minor leagues, that probably since Scott Kingery, and that hasn't worked out real well. God love the guy last year in the system, but I think these young guys here are really, really talented, have a chance to be special. We see them coming through in other organizations, and we think, when are we going to finally see them with the Phillies? And I think in a couple of years, you can see some of these guys become really good players in the major leagues.
Well, until they get here, there is one more question that I have for you, because we go through this almost every time we have you on. How am I so wrong about Kyle Schwarber? How is this working? And now he's hitting over 250.
I mean, you talk about a guy who's willing to make adjustments and forget about the weight loss. That has nothing to do with it. He just has kind of reinvented himself. And again, he's not one of those guys who has ever been one of the most gifted players, athletically, whatever, but he just finds a way to make what he does work. And you can win with a lot of guys like that. And obviously he's a great clubhouse guy and one of the leaders. That's great. But he's been willing to do whatever it takes to help whatever team he's on at that particular point. And here he is into his 30s, and he's still kind of doing it. And I think it's fun to watch. And obviously the fans just kind of cling to a guy like that. He just kind of just fits that Philadelphia personality. And I think it's great to see. And it doesn't surprise me. Again, I don't want him with a glove on, but that's not what he's getting paid for.
Amen.
And he's getting paid to hit, and he's doing it really well. And it's fun to watch. And again, that's why I don't get too worked up about Nick Castellanos. He's had his moments. He's going to have his moments. Is he going to be the guy that we saw play for, other major league teams in the past? No, he's not going to be that 300 hitter that, you can't get out for 3-4 week stretches, but he's enough for what the Phillies need right now.
Well, I just enjoy Jeff being proven wrong. So let's keep that going. Tom, thanks for always giving us a few minutes to go over what's going on down on the farm and what's going on in the whole system as well. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you throughout the summer.
And by the way, if you see Roman Quinn while you're down there, let us know.
I would love to talk to him, man. I still think he'd have been a great NFL receiver, but he probably would have been, getting killed playing that sport. So who knows?
Yeah, he's injuring prone as is. If somebody's drilling their helmet into him all the time, that wouldn't have helped the situation.
No, he figured that out at a young age, so he was smart enough to do that.
Thanks so much, Tom.
All right, guys, take care.